All right. Welcome back in. It is Friday morning. Had an amazing Thursday night football game last night. Well,
Eh.
amazing depending on, what side you're rooting for and who's on your fantasy teams. But we had an interesting game at the very least. But we are here on this Friday morning to make sure that we have you ready for your week. I'm back, your host, Garret Price, with my good friend, Andrew Mott. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Just had a great quarterback conversation with Pete off stream, so feeling good about that class last year, man.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. And Pete's here with us as well. Pete, how you doing, buddy?
I am 12 out of 10, but mostly because I'm dyslexic. But Garrett, we were talking about this. Huh?
A 2.1
out of 10?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But Andrew and I were talking about this. And if you had to put money on a quarterback bust from last year's draft class, who would you put it on?
For somebody to bust?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it's
the crazy
kind of
part is
name,
like
right?
Right now, none of them look like busts, which is crazy. Like odds are if you have 6 guys in the first round, somebody's got a bust, right?
Yeah.
People are gonna call me a hater. Like I feel like you set me up, Pete, because you know that there's one guy in this class I do not like, and I got a lot of flack for it last year. But I would go Bo Nix. I'm not a Bo Nix guy. I'm not a Bo Nix truther. I get it that he had a good rookie campaign, and I don't want to take that away from him. But you look at the games that he put up numbers, they were against subpar defenses. He hasn't shown anything against big time teams. I think only one of his games was against a legit defense. So I think last year was a bit of a fluke. So if I had to pick one to bust, it would be Bo Nix.
Okay.
I think he could be top or half of the list, but Pete and I think that if you have to pick one, it's probably Caleb. Like Caleb has the most, he's shown us the most qualities that I think are undesirable. Like he has physical tools, but it just feels like there's a little bit that's not clicking still with Caleb. And I know it's just year 2, but it just feels like there's some things not clicking. And maybe Ben Johnson isn't going to be too patient.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, he's not the known for his patience necessarily. So we'll see how that kind of all plays out there. But you're right. I mean, there's definitely things that he's put on tape that you'd be like, I don't love that. But you go back and look at his numbers last year. For as much as we say that, oh, maybe he's not that great. Like his numbers really weren't bad. Like they really weren't. When we look at bad rookie seasons, you think of Trevor Lawrence's rookie year and different guys like that. What was it like? He only had 13 touchdowns, but he also only had 5 picks or something like that. I'd have to go look at exactly what it was, but yeah, it wasn't atrocious.
I have a Bears fan friend who does my Dynasty trade show with me every week, and he's starting to turn his tune, I guess, on Caleb Williams. He's been very defendant of Caleb Williams over the last year. And I think after last night or the other night when they lost, he started to kind of change his tune a little bit. He called him, what did he call him? He called him fake clutch, where basically he almost comes back and wins you every game, but he never wins them.
That's funny. Yeah, he was, so last season, 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and only 6 picks. So for a disappointing year, I feel like the disappointing year for Caleb Williams is similar to the disappointing year for Marvin Harrison Jr. Yes,
I agree.
Expectations were really, really high. Did he meet those expectations? No. But most quarterbacks, if they come out their rookie season and give you 20 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions and throw for 3,500 yards, you're fairly happy with that. So yeah. I think, and rushed for nearly 500 yards. So I don't know. I get it. If you want to say, when you look at all the quarterbacks and how they're playing, I totally get picking him as the guy. I'm not ready to give up on the kid yet, especially I saw flashes in that first game too of yes, that's what we want to see. you know, smart passes, check downs, things like that. And then the rushing ability was like, I don't know, like this isn't really a thing, but like it felt like he got more elusive than he was last year. Like he was making dudes like whiff in the open field. So it was interesting.
I feel like that about Penix. Like that first game, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, he's using his legs way more than I had imagined he was going to use them. Like maybe this is just a one-time thing, but it was just like, I didn't imagine Penix to give you, what was it, 6, 7 rushing attempts?
Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. And two rushing touchdowns in like clutch time too. So that was big. So, but if you guys are here, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. We are going to make sure to get all your start sits, things like that. Maybe even a few trade questions as well. So, go ahead.
To start off with, I'm looking at our projections right now.
Yes,
on Dynasty Nerds from our app.
Okay,
and I see a couple interesting, kind of like in the same realm, names wise to projection wise, and so I kind of want to ask you guys about them.
All right.
Who are you starting here? Chuba Hubbard or Marion Hampton?
So
they're both projected.
Hubbard,
so Hubbard is. I should have this up.
So Chuba's playing Arizona. Marion Hampton's playing Las Vegas. Hilariously, I have them back to back. I have them 17 and 18 in my rankings.
I have them 18 and 19. And Chuba is above Omarion. Is he the same for you?
It actually is.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's funny. We both have them back to back. I mean, look, I think the thing is with Hampton right now, obviously the workload is still, it does seem like they're still trying to give him a little bit more workload. Like there's still some more to be desired there. I think Chuba is a player that's very scheme dependent in a way of like, they can get away from the run game very quickly, but he does have the ability to become a receiving back in this offense. So he does feel a little bit of a safer floor than a guy like Hampton, whereas Hampton, he wasn't being used too much in the receiving game. It does feel like the Chargers offense. I know we've historically said that it's an offense that we want to see them be run heavy, or they've wanted to be run heavy. I think we saw a switch last season, and it kind of started again here in week 1, where this is an offense that clearly does want to pass the football as well. Like they're a very good passing offense. And I wouldn't be surprised if this year they're a little bit less run heavy than we expected throughout the majority of the year.
This was something we actually brought up on the main podcast this week. Threw at nearly 60% of their plays. And if you look even back at like a lot of like the neutral plays where, you know, it's not a passing down and distance. It's, you know, it could be either one. They passed a lot in those situations as well. So I agree. I do think that's interesting. Hard to know for sure if it's one of those situations where it was scheme dependent because the Chiefs are such a good run defense and they were more vulnerable to the pass. We'll see. But overall, I tend to agree with you. I think this was a switch. Pete, I know we don't tend to do a ton of trade questions, but let's get to Corey's first before we get into these ones, because I do think that's a good question. And it ties directly into our tear down video that Andrew Mott and I did this past week. So tearing down from neighbors to JSN. So this was the exact situation that we had talked about on the stream there. And question is, would Brees or Loveland be enough on top? 12-team, half-point tight end premium super flex. So for me, the answer would probably be Brees, yes. Loveland, no. What about for you, Matt? Andrew?
I'll take it. I'll take that as a compliment, I guess. Look, no, I am in the same boat. I think Brees, it does make sense a little bit more. I value him more than Loveland. And that's not to say that we don't think that Loveland is going to be a good player. I think he can still be a good player. But a half-point tight end premium, it feels like it's just not enough. It doesn't feel like a tight end is really where you want to see the upgrade or the extra addition. That is a position that is a onesie position for you most of the time, that you can usually find guys fairly cheap that can come in and be players that you're playing on a consistent basis. So I think for me, it would be Brees. Whether or not he's the long-term guy here in New York, I probably don't think he will be, but there was just a running back spot that opened up in Washington that maybe New York is on the phones or some things like that will happen. But even then, I think he can still be a very good player for you. RB2 pretty much each and every week, at least for you, as long as he's a Jet still this year.
Yeah, I could totally see that, and that was even one of the places that we had talked about before. Kansas City and Washington were both places that we could see a Breece Hall situation developing there potentially, and we'll see if the Jets continue to play well. Maybe that's something that doesn't happen during the year. We'll have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah,
but, yeah, it's definitely in the realm of possibility there. All right, Pete, what we got next?
Okay, so K-Dog is asking, someone is offering me James Conner and Calvin Ridley for Deebo Samuel and Kenny Walker. Oh my goodness, they killed Kenny.
They did. So James Conner and Calvin Ridley for Deebo and Kenneth Walker. This one I'd want to know for sure that it was Dynasty and not redraft. So assuming Dynasty, that's tough. I am very worried about Kenneth Walker, but I'm also bullish on Deebo in this offense this year. So that makes it tough for me. I'm on the fence. Where are you at, Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And I think the main reason why is there was a little bit of concern for me in week 1 when I saw James Conner was rotating a lot more with Trey Benson. It's still going to be James Conner. Don't get that, confused, but it's a little bit less than what we're used to. And if he's not getting some of the receiving work, he's not getting those 20 touches where he can go out and get, 100 yards on 20 touches. Those games, he's going to lose just a little bit of that oomph that he's had in our lineups over the last couple of seasons where he's been this bell cow for Arizona. And that makes me a little bit worried, especially considering he would be an asset, and it's redraft, so I guess that doesn't matter as much. I was going to say he's an asset that's a little bit older, so we're going to see kind of these as the twilight years of his career. But in a redraft, I think that does change my thought process. I was just sitting there about to make a dynasty argument for why I would still go Kenneth Walker despite that. But in a redraft, I'm going to go with James Conner. I'm still worried that he was getting a little bit rotated in with Benson, but I want to kind of keep an eye on that here in week 2. Maybe it was just a week 1 thing. Maybe it's a multi-week thing. Just keep an eye on that trend. But Conner and Ridley. Yeah, that's the side that I'd be taking there.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I would go with Calvin Ridley and James Conner as well, simply for the fact of I feel very similar about both Calvin Ridley and Deebo. Yes, Deebo's in a little bit more of an explosive offense, although it wasn't last night, but a little bit more of an explosive offense. But Calvin Ridley, I do think better days are ahead. There were a couple drops in that game that were frustrating. And that was a weird game that they played as well, where against Denver, it was a slow-paced game. Like, I could see this being a more high-paced game in the future, and then potentially even being down a little bit more and needing to throw more to kind of try to get back into the game. So I would go with the James Conner, Calvin Ridley side as well.
Love it. Okay, our good friend Powerfold asks, even with a bad game, JCM's value or BCM
don't do that.
Value.
It's JCM. Come on now.
So much worse.
BJCM value should somehow shoot up, even if. Man, I'm having
should somehow shoot up even higher if Equatori's Achilles.
So yeah,
are you holding or selling?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, I got you. I didn't want to see you struggle there anymore.
Yep.
Look, man, I think I had this conversation the other day because there's this guy in one of my leagues that has been so vocal about his hate for JCM, and I was like, dude, and maybe it's just because I've been hyping him and pumping him up since April, but it's just, you don't have to be a genius to see what is kind of presented itself here for JCM. And yes, with the Achilles tear for Eckler, I think that we are going to see an increase in value even more, because all that has been happening for Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt has been opened doors of opportunity. it has been Brian Robinson out the door, Chris Rodriguez inactive week 1, Austin Eckler now done likely for the season once we get confirmation on the Achilles, but it does look like it was an Achilles tear. So that being said, like, it's JCM right now, McNichols, who's probably going to rotate in as the pass catching back, filling in for Eckler. And then Chris Rodriguez is going to be active now most weeks as a third guy in this depth chart.
Deonta Foreman type.
Right. Like
Perfect.
the only thing that I think could happen here is now the Commanders have become open to exploring the market. Could they go out and look for a guy like Kenneth Walker or a Zach Charbonnet from that backfield because they have two guys that they like? Could they go out and look for a Breece Hall? Could they go find somebody that's potentially on the block? I think that's the next risk for a guy like JCM. And this is why with guys who have 7th round draft capital, you never get too comfortable because it just never feels like you ever get that safety net of draft capital that gets to hold you. But the pathway is right there. And I think people are going to see next week. I know people were upset this week. I'm with you. I started JCM in one of my leagues. Probably shouldn't. Got a little bit too excited. The social media team for the Commanders was posting Bill highlights. And I just thought it was the week. So, hey, I got caught up in it too. Don't worry about it. I still think Bill's going to be fine. And I think week 3, we're going to see a lot more Bill than we had even imagined. I think with this Eckler injury. What do you think, Garret?
So I think it all depends on what your expectations are and what type of offers you're getting. So if it's the type of situation here for JCM that, people are still, hey, I'll give you a second. At this point, if you're a contender, having a running back that is going to get a good amount of touches is worth more than a second. So yeah. If you're in that scenario and you need a running back, hold on to him. This is very similar to guys that we've seen in the past: Phillip Lindsay, James Robinson. I'm drawing a blank on other guys now, but we've had a lot of
Damian
these guys.
Pierce, James Robinson, all those guys.
Yeah. Over the past 10, 15 years, that are really good players. Or I shouldn't say really good players. They're fine players in really good situations, and they can perform for fantasy. We saw Mike Davis do it when Christian McCaffrey went down. So, I mean, these are real situations. Every once in a while, you get an Aaron Jones, you get an Arian Foster that actually do make a career out of this and not just a season or two. The likely scenario is it is a season or two, but that could help you win a ship. So if you're only getting a second, then at this point, I would probably hold. If somebody's like, okay, he's going to get the full workload now, he's gone, I'll give you my late first, or, I'll give you my first if you give me JCM in a second or something like that. Then I'm willing to move him. I'm willing to move him because I would rather go use that first on another running back that maybe I trust a little bit more. Because the one concern I still have is the receiving workload. Is he going to be involved in the passing game? And that's where you really see those fantasy points tick up. Assuming a PPR league or half-point PPR league. So I think it just depends on what you're getting, what kind of value you're getting in return.
So I'm looking at the trade browser right now, and Keon Coleman straight up for JCM. Who you picking?
I'm not a huge Coleman guy.
I'm not either.
But draft capital, and he also showed that upside last week.
Yeah, that happens when you score 44 points or whatever it was.
That's what I was going to say. It was one of the highest scoring games we're going to have this year. And the touchdown was off of a deflection.
What about Harold Fannin?
I'd go JCM. I would go
in tight end premium.
In tight end premium.
A half-point tight end premium or a full point or what?
I think it's full point.
A full point, I'd go Fannin probably.
Dang, Rashee Rice straight up.
Oh, Rice easily.
Stop it.
No, that's a nice trade.
So my theory has been kind of, if I'm on a contending team and I have JCM, because I have JCM everywhere. There's really only like 2 leagues that I play in that I don't have him in, maybe 1 league that I don't have him in. And one of the ones that I don't have him in is because I already traded him and it was a rebuilding roster. Now, I was willing to cash out on the rebuilding teams and make my profit because this was a player that I was getting in the 5th rounds or the 4th rounds of rookie drafts. Sure. Or I was picking him up off of waivers as a UDFA and I used Fab and I turned that Fab into a 2nd and a 3rd. So I sold him for a 2nd and a 3rd in one league where I was rebuilding. This was pre-Eckler injury. This was last week. I feel like now I could have probably, if I waited one more week, knowing what I know now, I might have been able to get 2 seconds. Do you think you can get 2 seconds for JCM?
Yeah, I think it's entirely. I think people are going to get to the point very soon, like I said, where the first starts becoming a at least something that's talked about. Is it done? Maybe not, but it's at least starting to be talked about. And like I think that the first for JCM in a second, I think that's a real possibility to get done. So I could totally see that. Pete, I know we got a lot of them. I did want to put this one up because I appreciate this comment by Penguin.
I was going to, yeah.
Oh, were you? Nice. All
Yep.
right. Just want to say, love you guys. Been an avid listener for years, and I love the focus on Dynasty. You guys helped me realize I'm not a title contender and I need to blow it up. Cheers, Penguin. Thank you so much.
I think we did his team for roster rescue.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it was. I if I remember correctly, there was some tough love, but
got to do that sometimes.
That's where it's helpful, though.
Yeah,
but those comments mean a lot. Penguin,
Yep.
thank you.
Definitely appreciate that.
Okay, so next comment. I think this is our first start set. Start 8, Coleman or Judy?
Ooh, man, we just talked about that. I am not a big Coleman guy. So that does make it tough for me because I feel like the answer could and maybe even should be Keon Coleman. But I'm sticking with Jerry Jeudy here. We saw that Baltimore game, just high scoring, crazy amount of points. I know that they have a decent defense in the secondary specifically, but I still think best case scenario, like I feel like either way, the Browns are either in the game and they're going to have to throw to stay in the game, or they're down by a butt ton and they're going to have to throw to try to get back in the game. Like
The
either
optimizer,
way, either way, they're not going to be playing from a lead where it's like, all right, Dylan Sampson, carry us home. Like,
yeah.
they're going to have to throw the ball. So I'm going to stick with Jerry Jeudy here.
Yeah, I'm still Judy too. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, sorry. The optimizer has Judy ahead by over 2 points, I think, or around 2 points.
Nice.
So that's a pretty safe start on that end.
I have
as well.
Judy ahead by quite a significant margin in my rankings as well. I just think you look at what he did last week. It didn't hit home for Judy. Like, it wasn't a huge game in general, but they were throwing the football a ton. Like we said, they're either losing and trying to throw it, or they are trying to stay competitive and throw it. It's just not really a scenario here where they can afford to go fully run game with this, game flow going into that direction of them just like grinding out the clock. It's not going to happen for the Cleveland Browns. So 8 targets last week for Judy. I'd expect it to continue on. I know when people are looking at like strength of schedule right now at this point of the year, it's a little bit skewed because you have like 1 week of matchups. It says Baltimore is the worst defense. They are not. They just played Josh Allen. Like that is the only reason.
Yeah.
Oh, and we didn't do Penguins roster. That's my bad.
Wow. Fake
news.
An elephant. Yeah. Okay, this is a hard one. Drake May or Dak Prescott? Our projections have them like decimals away.
Yeah, this is a really hard one for me. I like both of these players a lot. And I think both of them could have really good games. I am going with Drake May in this one, which is a little surprising. But you look at that New York Giants front seven, and specifically that D line. It's pretty legit. It's a pretty legit defense. I do think that we might even see a little bit more run because it's more of a pass rush thing than it is a run defense necessarily. But that Miami defense looks horrid. I mean, just absolutely horrid. And so I think Drake May could have a banner game this week. So I'm going to go Drake May.
Yeah, I was actually leaning Dak Prescott for myself. I understand the worries about that defensive line there in New York. However, Dak played a really tough defensive line last week. He played a really tough defense last week. And if it weren't for a couple of drops that were uncharacteristic from CeeDee Lamb and some other guys on this team, Dak Prescott would have been one of the highest scoring quarterbacks on the week. I don't think anybody can dispute that for the most part. I think Dak looked really good in that game. If you just watched it back and were kind of watching everything that he was doing. He's making big time throws. I think he's going to be able to do that against this Giants defense as well. Even though that defensive pressure is going to be a little bit aggressive up front, I still would go with Dak Prescott. I think it's the better offense. There's more chance for touchdowns. There's more scoring opportunities for the Cowboys, and he would be the guy that I'd be targeting. But it's not by a lot. I have him as my QB9, and I have Drake May as my QB11.
Okay, I have him 10 and 12. So
Okay.
very similar ranges.
Okay, Shane asks half-point PPR flex spot, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, or Jordan Mason. Walker is ahead by like 3 points in our projections.
Walker scares the tar out of me right now.
Yep.
I got to be honest. Like I'm terrified. So I think for me, this would be a what's the projections looking like for my team specifically situation? Am I a team that's projected to lose by 15? Okay, I'm gonna roll the dice then, and I'm gonna go with Walker. Like I need upside. He'll give me the most upside if he's back to normal-ish. If it's like, hey, we're projected really close in our game, I would much heavier lean toward the other two. And specifically for me, it would be Jordan Mason. I would probably lean against Atlanta, but I would have no problem with either one of the other two, honestly. But it all depends on kind of what's my situation going into that game.
Yeah, I kind of am feeling similar to you. It's Kenneth Walker makes me so nervous, and I haven't been a Kenneth Walker guy in the preseason. I haven't been a Kenneth Walker guy in the offseason. I know a lot of people got really excited about Kenneth Walker, and he got a lot of buzz coming into like that redraft season, the single season formats. I just think for me, it always felt like this was going to be a committee. It feels like Zach Charbonnet is too good to keep him off of the football field. He does a lot of things really well. When I'm looking at a start-sit decision like this, where it is feeling like you're just basically picking which committee back is likely to get the touchdown, like that feels like that's the bet you're making this week. I'm probably going to go with the most talented player, and I think it's Kenneth Walker for me. If you have another week here where Kenneth Walker doesn't look good and it still looks like it's Zach Charbonnet, we may have to come to terms that this is what's up, Rich? We may have to come to terms that this is maybe more Zach Charbonnet's backfield, at least early on in the season, than we want it to be. So for now, I'm going Kenneth Walker, but if we get one more week of confirmation, we are really going to have to change that and detour a different way.
Real quick before I know we want to get to meatballs. Thanks so much for the super chat, buddy. Real quick, I do, as a Vikings fan, I want your opinion on this. How do you feel about the whole Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones situation here? Because I have them on the week. I actually have Jordan Mason just barely behind Aaron Jones because of the receiving upside, but I literally have them 28-29 in my weekly rankings.
Okay, I have them a little bit more spread apart, but they're kind of in the same ranges, to be honest. I have Aaron Jones at 26, and I have Jordan Mason at 31. So it's a little bit more spread apart, but kind of the same range of running back for the most part. I think for me, really, watching that game, I would love to see Jordan Mason get more carries, honestly. Like, I want to see him more involved in this offense. He looked really, really efficient behind that offensive line. That offensive line is only going to get better as Darisaw gets back into the lineup. And they get Skule or whatever his last name is off the football field. Like it was horrible left tackle play from him in that game. I think it's only going to get better. But Mason, he looked really efficient. Aaron Jones, to me, at this point in his career, and it does feel like what they really want him to do is be this third down pass protection guy, a guy who goes out and acts a little bit as a receiver and has some of that big playability on limited carries. They really are trying to pull those back, it feels like, because last year he had more touches than he's ever had in his career in a single season. So I don't think they really want to do that to him again at 31 years old. They would rather just split these guys. And Mason looked like the better running back as far as like your traditional running back goes.
Absolutely.
Really fast. I have every week, I'll have one award to give a player. It's called the Quentin Johnston Award of a player that I'm just going to jokingly say is going to have a really big week, and then he's going to have a really big week. Kenneth Walker is
Johnston win it in week 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Quentin Johnston.
The
won
Johnston
Quentin
Award
Johnston.
winner is going to be Kenneth Walker in week 2.
This week, Kenneth Walker bounced back. The receiving was there, the yards weren't, and the points weren't. But
and the touchdown wasn't there, right?
Nope.
No, it was with Charbonnet.
Nothing was there. But this week, mark it, baby.
Alrighty.
Okay, Meatball with the $4.99. I have, let's see, for my flex. Oh, Quentin Johnston versus a bad Las Vegas defense, or Kayshawn Booty versus the Dolphins.
Yeah, and I think he's also wanting to know between Charbonnet and Walk, or I think he has them both. So he's wanting to put Montgomery in his RB2 over.
I like
both
that.
of those guys. Is that am I understanding that correctly?
I think so. There also might be a typo in there. It might be 3 names: Charbonnet something and Walker.
7 that duh. Let us know what
Oh,
7
you guys,
that
that's Bill's new nickname.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's start with the flex. Butte or Quentin Johnston, both guys against not great pass defenses. Do you have a way you're leaning there? Because I do, but I feel wrong for leaning that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have either of these guys super high in my rankings. Right now,
Our optimizer. Sorry. Yeah, you go.
I was going to say right now, Quentin Johnston is my wide receiver 42 in PPR, and Butte is 39. So neither of these guys are like huge plays for me. But I guess if we're looking for a little bit of upside and you want to get a little fancy, I guess you got to plug some booty into the lineup.
I want to go with Booty. I really do. I ended up going with Quentin Johnston. So we have Quentin at almost the exact same spot. You said 42.
42, yeah.
I have him at 43. So we have him like almost the exact same spot, but we are drastically different on Booty. So you had him in the 30s. I have him in the 50s. I have him at 52. I don't trust the target share just yet. I think that wide receiver room is going to be somewhat similar to Green Bay. We're on a week-to-week basis. It's going to be really tough to trust. So right now, I would lean toward Quentin Johnston just because I feel confident he's at least going to get like 5 targets. Is he going to get more than that? I don't know. But Butte, he could get 10. He could get 2. So
I have a stat that I dropped on my waiver show earlier, and I was going to ask like why specifically you're not trusting Booty. And I get it. It's just the name you don't really want to trust. But last year, Booty was 5th in receiving yards over the last 4 weeks of the regular season. In games with May, he led all Patriots receivers in receiving yards, in targets, in receptions. It just feels like with Drake May on the football field, he's dominating every category that we want to see. It's the air yard share, it's the receiving yards, it's all of those things. So with that small sample size that we had last year and what we have now off of a week 1 performance, I think there's enough there to at least look at it to where it's not just like a 1-week wonder. And there is enough data to say maybe there is something to this. And I kind of had a similar thought of like a different guy early in week 1 when I was making my own start sit decisions, was like a guy like Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman had a sample size like that last year where it was 4 games and then he got hurt and people forgot about it. But then week 1, it was like, oh yeah, Cedric Tillman's actually good. He's in the lineup again. And I think Booty is just a guy that for whatever reason, Drake May is trusting when he's on the football field. And so that would kind of only be my only pushback on there. And QJ, I just feel like there's a little bit more target competition. You have to fight with Ladd. You have to fight with Keenan. You have to fight with some of these other guys where Booty, who are we fighting with? Demario Douglas, Stephon Diggs, who's coming off an ACL tear? Like,
I mean, let's not push Stephon Diggs to the side that easily. Stephon Diggs is one of the best wide receivers we've had, over the past decade. So I do think he's going to still be heavily involved.
Yeah, I agree. I have Diggs higher than Booty for the record, but it's just, I don't think we're fighting with the same Stephon Diggs that we've seen in years past.
For sure. All right, we'll see. I don't know. That's a very small sample size to feel confident in, but we'll see. It could.
It's
It could.
don't
be really
hear
good.
what I'm not saying. It's not confidence. It's just
Full
there's
start,
data.
baby.
Yeah, there's data there.
Wide
to
receiver
support
4
that
on the
this could
week.
be- Yeah, there's data there that can support this. And you just talked about how bad that Miami defense is. I mean, look at
It
the
is.
if
It
you,
is
if you want to
very
do
bad.
it, do it. And
No,
who doesn't want to, who doesn't want to play with the last name there of the player there?
That's true. Having a little
It's just
booty on
fun.
your
Plug
side.
it in the lineup.
That never a bad feeling.
We were joking in one of my leagues this week because guys were bidding fab and we were saying these guys are throwing dollars at booty right now. That's what they were really doing. They were throwing dollars at booty.
Makes sense. All right. I know we got a lot of questions to get to. We're going to try to pick it up a little bit, speed up the process, try to get more of these answered for you guys. Pete, what do we got?
Connor, Gente, AJ Brown, sit one. Optimizer says Genty. Eileen, AJ Brown. What do you guys think?
That's funny because I would lean.
I would
Connor.
not be sitting AJ Brown.
I would not either. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. I would still absolutely be starting AJ Brown. I know it was a bad week 1, but against Kansas City, they're gonna need him.
Where is he ranked as your wide receivers on the week?
14.
I have him at 13.
Okay, very similar spot. Running back, I have Ashton Genty at 11, and I have James Conner at 12. So I mean, it's a coin flip between those two guys for me, but I do have Connor one spot lower. But I get it if you want to play him. He might be a little bit safer against Carolina than you have against the Chargers for Genty. So if you want to play the safety side, I get that and sit Genty, but I would probably be sitting Connor personally.
So you said they're one spot apart and it's Genty over Connor?
Correct.
I have them one spot apart, but it's Connor over Genty. And it's
interesting
for the reason that you said. It's the Carolina matchup. It should be a game script where they are leaning on the run. I think if you have to bet on a player getting into the touchdown or getting a touchdown, if you probably look at sports books and things like that, I bet the odds are higher for a guy like Connor this week. It's just feels like there's a safer floor with him. And that run defense is really tough in Los Angeles. Last year, they were one of the best against the run. They came out in week 1. They allowed the second least points in week 1. Like it just carried over. And when it carries over like that, it's legit. So I'm going to pump the brakes on Genty just this week. You're still playing him if you have him where you drafted him. There's likely not many better options, but he was a little bit inefficient in week 1, and he could be a little bit inefficient here in week 2.
The only reason, because I'm nervous about LA's defensive line. They got a good line, and I like the Carolina matchup for Connor. But all the stuff that we've been talking about with Trey Benson is the reason that I'm like, this could be the perfect opportunity if you wanted to start making that switch. Given Trey Benson some Carolina workload, is a way to really elevate him up. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Brian asks, Travis Hunter, Stephon Diggs, or Hollywood Brown in my flex spot this week?
Ooh, Hunter, Diggs, Hollywood Brown. I
would go Hunter.
I would go with Hunter personally.
Yep.
It's the Cincinnati matchup. I think they're going to have a shootout.
It's a Cincinnati matchup. Also, I know Hollywood Brown is coming off of that 16 target game, which is fantastic. It does sound like Worthy is going to try and play. So even if he's on the football field a little bit, it's more than what he was on the football field last week. So I don't think that the same target share is going to hit Hollywood Brown. Also, it could be a little bit of a different game script here this week. Maybe not. But the pace could be a little bit slower, I think, against the Eagles, who do play a little bit slower. For Travis Hunter, it feels like they were really manufacturing touches. There was nothing out there in week 1 that really wowed me, but it was a point to me, at least on film, that it looked like they were trying to get Travis Hunter easy layup routes, things like that, which in a PPR league, that's going to translate to some fantasy points nonetheless. So I think Hunter is the safest floor, and he still probably has the highest ceiling if he, gets some of that athleticism showing on tape and he starts taking one of these to the house or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, Shane, half point PPR flex, Henderson, Tony Pollard, Odunze, and Chris Olave.
All right, so this might be a little bit of hopium. So I'm gonna clarify with that before I give my answer here. This could be a little bit of my own desires seeping in to my rankings here a little bit. But for me, this is slam dunk. Slam dunk, Travion
Slam
Henderson.
dunk.
Yes. I have him 13 on the week. I think he has a massive week against the Miami Dolphins this week. So I have, look, and like I said, that's why I clarified. I'm sure that there is a little bit of my own desires slipping into my rankings here because it should be close between Pollard and Odunze and Olave. Those are all players in a very similar range. But for me, it is like I have Tony Pollard at 20, which is probably closer to where Travion Henderson should be. But I have Travion at 13 this week.
Yeah, I don't have it as that wide open. I will say I think I'm with you on
Heck yeah.
Henderson, but it is definitely very close. I'm actually really intrigued by Odunze as well. I thought he looked really good in that first game. I think they're going to be in a game with the Lions where they're going to be throwing the football a lot. It seems like it's early, but it feels like he might end up being the number one target in this offense this year. That's just my hot take, I think, for the year. Maybe it's not that hot, but it's between Henderson and Odunze for me. I think I'll lean Henderson, though, just because, like we said, that Miami defense looked like there was no signs of life in week 1. And if we're projecting touchdowns, Henderson probably has the best chance to get a touchdown.
All right, real quick. I'm going to throw this up. I had not heard this. Have either one of you guys heard this? Reports that Hunter may primarily play defense.
But
that is not the report that I heard. I heard that primarily playing defense is not the verbiage that I saw. It was Hunter will play more defense this week than he did last week. That is what I heard. So if that is the case, that doesn't necessarily mean less offense. It just means they might give him a little bit more of a workload on defense. Still something interesting, but unless Dan saw something that I haven't seen, but the one that I saw was he's going to play a little more defense than he did last week. Not that he's going to play primarily defense and less offense. That's not what I saw.
And realistically, this could end up coming back to bite us. But why would they divulge that? You know what I mean? Like, if that's really their plan, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna have him shut him down. Like, why would they say like it would mess up their plans as far as like getting one up on Cincinnati there.
Also, if you're confident that he can shut down Jamar Chase, then you should be playing him on defense more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, we're going to put your first full-time like matchup against Jamar Chase.
Okay, here's the official report, by the way, from ESPN. Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen says that Travis Hunter will see a likely uptick in defensive snaps in week 2 against the Bengals. Hunter only played 6 snaps on defense in his NFL debut, but Cohen said that he didn't expect to use Hunter a ton on defense in week 1 anyways. The plan is to ramp up his defensive snaps as the season progresses. That is the report.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like, to me, he's primarily only going to play defense.
Dan did say he thinks it was Skip Bayless who said it. So,
well, that might be the issue.
Also, Garrett, just to balance you out with your hopium, our optimizer has Henderson easily ahead of all those other options.
That's what I'm talking about, because our optimizer is awesome.
Yep.
Unless it was disagreed with me.
Yep.
Our optimizer is also a Henderson fan as well. That's the problem.
Yeah, we actually have an Ohio State bias worked into the to the algorithm.
Guys that come from Ohio State, I see it.
Yep. Odunze or David Montgomery?
I like Odunze here. I don't love what we saw out of that first week, the first glimpse of the Lions offense without Ben Johnson. I think, Garrett, you and I talked about this on an episode earlier this week when we were doing the tear down episode. There's legit worries for me with this Ben Johnson offense, or I guess not the Ben Johnson offense anymore for Detroit. So I'm going to go with Odunze here, especially like when we're talking ceiling. David Montgomery is the least ceiling play that you can probably play in fantasy right now. He's just like, I know he's going to give me 10 points. If he gets into the end zone, he gives me 15. But if other than that, like he's never giving you the 20, the 30-point game with Jahmyr Gibbs in the lineup. Odunze can do that if he catches a long touchdown, things like that. So I'm playing Odunze. I think they have similar floors, probably a higher ceiling for Odunze.
I agree with that, but I do want to ask this question. This is Bears versus Lions, so they're going head to head this week.
Yeah.
Which narrative is stronger? Like the Lions getting revenge on their old OC, or the old OC like pulling one over on his old team? Like what part of that is stronger?
So
if it was Belichick, it would be a no-brainer.
The narrative.
My gut is telling me, and I don't like what my gut is telling me this week because my mind is telling me something different.
Did
but
you
my
just get
gut
Taco Bell?
tells me-
Is that what happened? That's what happens when my gut starts to
maybe.
feel like that.
But my gut's telling me that Ben Johnson's going to rain hell on the Lions this week. That's what my gut is telling me.
I love it. It'd be fun. It would be super fun for sure.
Side note, Shane, thank you for the $2.79.
Thanks, homie. Appreciate it, man.
So next question. Travis Etienne or Omarion Hampton at flex non-PPR. So this is standard. Or it's standard. Yeah. That's
okay. I do have Omarion Hampton above Etienne. It's not a huge difference, 18 to 21. But can I ask you this, Andrew, real quick? Like, I don't want to take too much time because I know we're running out of time, but I'm going to say this, and I feel like I'm not correct in saying it, but it's popped into my mind. Is it Travis Etienne the confident starter, or is it last week they were playing kind of the hot hand and Etienne was the hot hand? Because when I saw LaQuint Allen, which a guy I like, don't get me wrong, but if I see a 7th round pick out there in the first drive, that tells me that maybe they were going with the hot hand approach, and Travis Etienne just happened to be the hot hand. Am I crazy for thinking that?
I don't think you're crazy for thinking that. I do think you may be slightly discrediting Travis Etienne, though. I think for me, he's a player that kind of. I also say this, just know that I'm saying this, currently sitting on like 23% exposure to Travis Etienne in best ball leagues this summer. But I just feel like it's always kind of pointed to Etienne, at least had the best shot at being the guy in this backfield.
Absolutely.
And when you go out there and play that many years with Trevor Lawrence, and you kind of have the relationships in the building, and then you go out and have a good week 1, I don't know why they wouldn't give you the ball going into week 2, especially considering that they've just shipped your backup out of the building. So I do have more confidence today than I had in Etienne going into week 1. And I have some decent confidence in Travis Etienne going into week 1. So I do think that you are discrediting Etienne a little bit. They're probably going to work in the other 2 guys, but as far as
I think all things being equal, like if nobody goes crazy and nobody's going nuts or anything like that, I still think it would be an Etienne 65 to 75% touch workload. But I do wonder if another guy gets hot, does it get closer to 50-50 or something like that?
I think it could. And I think you're right. It's like there's going to be games where somebody like Tootin goes out there and gives you a decent week. Like that's going to happen. And I think we saw that happen at times when Cohen was in Tampa Bay. Like that happened at times. So I wouldn't put it out of the range of outcomes. As far as this goes, though, in a non-PPR league, I do actually think I want to play Hampton.
Okay. All right.
Okay. The Battle of the Ducks.
Right.
Reckless asks, Bo Nix or Justin Herbert?
I have Justin Herbert by a pretty good margin, 7-14.
Yeah, I got Herbert at 7. I got Nix at 14. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 7-14.
Wow.
That's crazy. Great minds.
Okay, Alex, Drake London or Nico Collins, 2 points per reception. Ooh,
wow.
Usually don't see a 2 PPR.
You do not see that very often, at least, especially at the receiver position. Every once in a while you get it at tight end, but wow.
What's the for tight ends? 4?
Yeah, 4 points per reception for the tight end.
So I'm looking at my rankings, and I know how my rankings are, but it makes me a little queasy when I see my rankings. Where do you have this, Andrew?
Right now when I'm looking at my rankings as well, I've full disclosure, I've bumped Drake London down more than I think he will actually perform due to the shoulder injury.
I have two.
So I have Drake London as my wide receiver, and maybe I have him higher than you based on your reaction, Garrett. But I have him as wide receiver 11.
Okay, no, I
So,
have him at 12. We're in the same spot.
okay, we're in the same range. But I have Nico only a few spots higher as my wide receiver 9 on the week. So I think if he was healthy and if he was fine, I would project London to have more receptions than Nico. But I think he is a much riskier play this week than Nico is. So at this range of players, you're talking ceiling no matter what. Both of these players are either going to win your week, or if they have a bad week, they're going to lose your week. That's what happens with your studs. So I'm probably just going to play Nico, who is currently higher, and not worry about an injury, because at least if Nico loses me my week, I know he did it when he was healthy, and it wasn't because I played the injured guy.
Yeah. It's very similar to how I have it. I have a slightly larger gap. Nico at 7, Drake London at 12. You
can't get one of these guys into your flex?
I know that's pretty impressive, actually. Great work, Alex. He's like, sorry, there's not room with Bijan and Saquon Barkley and Jamar Chase and Jefferson.
Yeah.
Like, there's just not room, man.
And then it's like, why are you debating a start sit because you're already winning? It doesn't matter, dude, who you play. You're
You're projected to win by 45 points.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I didn't even think about that. I don't know. I'm nervous about this Houston Texans offense. That's why this one makes me a little queasy.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave asks, Njoku versus Fannin. Garrett loves Fannin, so
maybe this should be harder for me, but it's really not. I have David Njoku at 9 this week, and I have Harold Fannin at 20. I think the love for Fannin's been a little overblown. So I would go Njoku.
Want to know something crazy too is for the record, I'm Njoku as well. But something crazy that I saw was somebody, I wish I could give credit to who it was. I can't remember. I just saw it on Twitter. But somebody pulled the week 1 snap shares, target shares, and things from last year with Isaiah Likely, and then the Browns this year. It was exactly the same snap share, the same targets, the same everything basically for this Browns team. And so it was like, is Fannin this year's Isaiah Likely?
Could very well be. Could very well be.
It's pretty likely. So Khalil Shakir or Quentin Johnston?
Shakir.
I believe I have Shakir. Let me look.
Is this a ceiling floor play for you? If you need a ceiling, do you go Johnston or do you still go Shakir, Andrew?
I think they both possess similar ceilings. To me, it's really just who gets into the end zone. But I think Shakir certainly has a higher floor.
Okay.
I actually have them one spot apart.
Really?
I have them at 42 and 43, but I do have Khalil Shakir higher.
I have Shakir at 36, so I am actually quite higher than you are on Shakir.
All right.
Okay, Bennett is playing he's projected the highest scoring team in the league, and he's playing the second highest.
Congratulations.
So
it's Ravens Bills.
Hampton, Ricky, Odunze, or Pittman. Who you starting there?
I'm definitely not starting Pittman.
Nope.
That Pat Surtain matchup has me very, very nervous. So he's an easy out for me at this point. Who does San Francisco have again?
San Francisco plays New Orleans, so it's a pretty easy matchup for Ricky, but he gets Mac Jones. So how do you feel about that?
I don't hate it, maybe as much as other people do. I mean, go back to last year. We had Brian Thomas playing better with Mac Jones than he was with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So
it's just Nick Mullins' different face.
Who Mac Jones?
I think I would play Ricky personally. He's the guy that I have the highest in my rankings. I have him in that like 25. I think he's 26. Yeah, 26 overall in my rankings right now. I'm not worried about the Mac Jones starting quarterback thing. I know a lot of people hear Mac Jones and they get the ick, but it's an easy matchup for them. New Orleans should not be that good of a team. And with Jennings battling an injury, Kittle out,
Kittle gone.
all of these guys like Ricky Pearsall, whether you like it or not, San Francisco, he is your number one guy, and you're going to have to feed him the football. So I would be playing him. I think he has the highest ceiling play. The safest floor play for me is Hampton, but Ricky has the highest ceiling.
I would agree on both fronts. I would go Ricky.
So, Jared, you put Pittman on my taxi squad when you moved Knicks out. I did not have Pittman on my taxi. He was in my starting lineup. So, man, I also wanted Ward. I can't put Knicks back. Sorry, scrolling through. I had it all queued up and Jared threw me off. Yep. One quarterback redraft. Who would you replace Purdy with? Geno, Danny Dimes, Rodgers, or Ward?
Assuming this is just kind of like the short term.
The streaming, yeah.
Yeah. So, because I'm only going to worry about this week. Like, I'm not going to worry about after this week. I would lean Aaron Rodgers personally.
But isn't Purdy, how long is Purdy supposed to be out for?
2 to 5.
So you are.
But I'm just going to keep streaming. Like, it's going to be week by week. I'm not counting on one of these guys each and every week, no matter what.
Yeah, and a 1 QB, you should only be streaming anyways if you have the injury. I have these guys all very close in my rankings, actually. I would probably be leaning either Rodgers or Geno. I don't like the Denver matchup for Jones this week. Nope. I think people are going to get a little excited about that. Cam Ward isn't even, at this point in time, as much as we like him for Dynasty, he's not on my radar in a redraft league. It's between Geno and Rodgers. Part of me wants to think that Geno's going to throw the football more because he's going to be in a more competitive game. So I kind of want to go with Geno, but they're back to back for me, so it doesn't really matter. I think
I have them 21 and 23. So
21 and 22.
I could go either way on it, but yeah, I would lean Rodgers in this one.
Okay, so we're just gonna answer these
rapid fire them.
Yeah. Or yeah, just very short. Are we worried about Drake London or Brock Bowers this week?
Minorly worried about London, not as worried about Bowers.
I'm minorly worried about both.
Okay. Let's see. Are we confident in playing? Do we know who Tongue
is? He's the backup tight end that caught the touchdown for the San Francisco 49ers. Am I confident in playing him? Absolutely not.
Correct. That's the correct answer.
Kamara or Egbuka?
I think I go Egbuka. Kamara was not getting the receiving work.
I think this is the ceiling versus floor. What do you need? You projected to win, go with Kamara. If you need the upside, that's definitely a Mecca.
Okay. Jaden Higgins or Caleb Johnson drop?
I would try to not drop either, but if I have to pick between one of the two, I would rather drop.
I'm assuming this is redraft, right?
Yeah. I would rather drop Caleb for now, but I would, like I said, I would try and not drop either.
I would like to not drop either as well, but I typically in a redraft will lean the receiver, so I would rather drop Jaden Higgins personally.
Also, side note, Alex says tight ends do get 4 points per reception.
Holy hell!
In that
I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not, but I really hope he's not.
I think he's not. Well,
tight ends score 50 points a week.
Really fast. One more. Which trade side do you prefer, Ladd and Harvey or Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kamara?
Oh.
In a Dynasty, I'm going with Ladd and Harvey, but a redraft, I'm going Marvin Harrison and Kamara.
I agree in redraft. It's hard because I'm not a Harvey guy, but I am a Ladd guy. I think I agree on both. I'll take Ladd and Harvey in Dynasty, Marvin Harrison, Kamara, and redraft.
Okay, perfect.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will be back here each and every Friday answering your start sit questions, those trades, those burning questions you have leading into the following week. Anything from either one of you guys before we get out of here?
No, if we didn't get to answer any of your questions, I will be live tonight over on my channel at the League FFB to answer more questions. So 8 p.m. Eastern. If you didn't get a question answered today and you want it answered this evening, or you come up with something between now and then, come find me over at the League FFB.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
See you next week.